Good evening and welcome. Welcome to my live stream. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and we are supposed to be talking about how to fight CPS and stop taking our children. I'm glad you found me on Facebook, Fighting CPS. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. That's 14 live streams. And I'm here to help you. I'm a loving man, a father of 6 children I've helped raise, and I have over 42 years of marriage experiences. I too was a victim of what I call CPS. And hello, Margaret. And I do apologize when I signed off this morning at 9 o'clock. I missed you coming into the room. It seemed a lot of my comments were sticking because there's messages from Billy Joe and from who else? Not Akima. There was somebody else. Anyway, I missed a couple messages this morning, but I'm glad you're back here, Margaret. I'm so happy you're here. You're one of my regulars in the room. So here we are to fight CPS. And for some of you that don't know what CPS is, I call it the Child Protection Systems. Every county in every state of the United States has a child protection system. It was mandated by Congress that social services have a branch of social services that will protect our children from neglect or abuse. And each county has their own name. Not all of them are all the same. Like in LA County and Orange County in California, side-by-side counties, Orange County calls theirs the Child Protection Service, CPS. But in LA next door, they call it the Department of Children and Family Services. In Prescott, Arizona, it's DCS, Department of Children's Services. In Richmond, Kentucky, it's called the Cabinet. But whatever you are, it's a government entity that's been designated social services to protect our children from neglect and abuse. And how they protect them is by investigating complaints from two kinds of people, professionals or lay people. Professionals, the ones that work all the time with children, that are trained and educated how to recognize CPS and how to report it. The other group, lay people, your family, friends, relatives, etc. And a lot of them use it for alternative motives. And it's bad. Some of the complaints are awful and not true. And the poor parent has to see their family get torn apart. Now, CPS is supposed to investigate. They think you're guilty because they hear a complaint and they already take the word of a stranger. They also have gone one step further. They are attacking people that don't have, they're low income, or they're going through a problem in their life, like a lost job or maybe a family break or whatever it is. They know you can't afford a real attorney. So they're hoping you will take their court appointed or public defenders because they're controlled by CPS. They're not juvenile law, family law, or dependency attorneys. They're only criminal attorneys that are just starting out in criminal law. And they're so swamped, they have a caseload of 30 more clients that won't have time for your case, and they will not fight for your case. They work for CPS. Now, not all CPS agencies are bad, but a lot of them are. And I've talked to over 1,000 people now, and they all have one thing in common. My children weren't in danger, and they took my children and broke up my family. They did that to me not too long ago. That happened in 2015, and for 3 years, I had to fight them to get my 2 of my 3 children back. So I told you I raised 6. 3 were taken. The other 3 have already grown up and out on their own. Now, besides Margaret from St. Louis, Missouri, we have Kendrick VWJ. I'm just going to call you Kendrick. And your hello from St. Paul, Minnesota. Wow. You're about the third person from St. Paul, Minnesota, so I'm glad to meet you. And you can tell me about your case. Now, you found me on Facebook, Fighting CPS. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, and it's again at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But on the weekends, I come on at 8 a.m. instead of at 10. That's the West Coast time of California. And this Sunday, I'll be coming on at 5 o'clock instead of my normal time at 7 because I have a family commitment. And so I'll be with my family later with a commitment. So I come on at 5 o'clock on Sunday. So anyway, welcome, Margaret. What is the latest about your case? And Kendrick, what is your case all about from St. Paul, Minnesota? Now, there are 4 ways you can interact with this live stream. One is you can text me a message, either a CPS comment or a CPS question. Please show me your first name and the city or county you're from and the state. And if you're from another country, your country. Yes, that's true. I have 21 countries participating in this live stream, from Indonesia to Bangladesh to India to Libya to Saudi Arabia, then over to Africa, to Liberia, to Sudan, to Rwanda, to Mozambique, and then came again several provinces in South Africa. Then we move up to Europe, and I've had England, Scotland, Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, North America, I've had 4 provinces in Canada. I've had all 50 states, people from all 50 states that represent, including the District of Columbia. I've had from Mexico, then down to South America to Grenada, then across the Pacific to New Zealand, and then to Australia. I've had 2 states in Australia. So that's a well-diverse group of people. And all those people are included in my 1,000 people to date. I've been doing this now for almost 17 months. I started in October of 2023. Also, try to be complete with your CPS case when you're texting a message, okay? Try to be complete with your case. Now, the third way is to be a guest on my podcast. You can be live with me doing the live stream, and you'll have video and audio. All you have to do is pick one of my 14 show times and tell Grace, I want to be Bob's Sunday morning live stream, or I want to be in Bob's Friday night live stream, or Bob's Wednesday morning live stream. You tell Grace, she's our producer, and she works very hard behind the scenes. She's our show producer. Her email is grace@vincentwdavis.com. grace@vincentwdavis.com. And I put it up there. Okay. You just email her with that show time, and she'll contact you and sign you up to be on the show and give you a link and help you get on the show and what you can say or not say. She takes care of that, makes you feel really comfortable. I can take 9 of you on my live stream. With me, that makes 10. Now, the last way to be on my interactive podcast is to call in to my number at 626-698-0990. That's 626-698-0990. And I'd love for you to call in. I use Vonage, the application on my phone, and it's a direct line, and I will answer the phone. I can only talk on the phone between hours of my show time. I cannot talk before or after my show. But please call in and talk to me. I'd like to hear from you, Kendrick. Also, Margaret, if there's something new you want to talk about. Also, I'm open to topics. I don't want me to do all the talking. I would like to have you, if you want to know about the ICWA Act of 1978, or how to file a 388 motion, or what is a 60 hearing, a 160 hearing, or how do we get an attorney? All those things I'll gladly help you with. I can research. I know the correct format. I've developed 5 rules that are really important with your case, that if I had done them, I don't think my case would have been bad as it was. I don't think it would have been. Now, while you're in this room, don't forget to send me emojis, thumbs up, hearts or smiley faces, and even some stars my way. That's great. And please follow me by checking the follow button. And you want to be notified when I'm on, check the notification button. But this is an interactive live stream, and I really want you all to participate. I'd like to talk, but I'd rather have you ask me the questions I can answer, or maybe you want to call in and talk. Keep in mind, if you call in or a guest to my podcast, you'll get a 15-minute free consultation, a private consultation with Mr. Davis, my attorney, for 15 minutes. That's free for 15 minutes. You just make a list of questions, prioritize them, and then you can set up your time by either being a guest on my podcast or calling in. If you call in, I'll ask you if you want to talk to Mr. Davis, and then I'll tell you how you can do so. If you're a guest on my podcast, you can say the same thing. You tell me you want to speak to Mr. Davis, and I will help you with getting you on, and with you getting on and talking to Mr. Davis. Now, Kendrick, is there anything more you like to ask about, or anything else you need to do? Sorry, this stuff keeps coming in and it ruins everything. Okay. I have another number on the screen. It's 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent W. Davis. Now, you can call in there if you want to get publications or guides. There's a real hot guide out in there called the Grandparents Handbook and Steps by Steps to get your grandkids back and to see them. It's a great book. It's also good for parents. There's also other books too. Now, that book called The Guide for Grandparents is right now $9.99, but I have a discount running, and if you use my name, PAC, all capital letters, and number 50, you'll get it reduced for half price. So there's benefits by calling into that number there. Hello, Dice. Dice, I assume that is your no, I'm sorry, that's Alice. I thought it was Dice. It's Alice. Welcome, Alice. I want to help you get your kids back. What you need to do is text me, a comment of what happened with your kids, or call in and tell me, starting from the beginning, how did your kids get taken from you? How did CPS showed up? What did CPS do? Where you at on your case? You got to help me out, Alice, okay? I will help you out as best as I can. I also need to know where you're from, too, Alice, besides knowing about your case. Now, Margaret's from Missouri, and Kendrick is from St. Paul, Minnesota. And Margaret's been a long-time member of this live stream. She's around here a long time. Great. You're from Connecticut, and a warm hi goes back out to you. What part of Connecticut are you from? Either your city or your county would be all I really need to know. Donbury, Connecticut. Okay. That must be a small town. Never heard of Bury. Oh, Danbury, not Don. Danbury, Connecticut. Well, welcome. And how did your case start out, Alice? If you want to call in, please call me at 626 698 0990. Or if you want to be a guest on my podcast, send an email to my show producer, Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and tell her what show, what time, and day you want to be on. I'm on 14 days a week, on twice a day, morning and evening. All you have to do is say, I want to be Bob's evening show or morning show. She can take care of the rest. She'll give you a link and send it to you. And if you get knocked off, you reuse that link again. It's still good. It's still good for this uh, live stream. Now, Kendrick from St. Paul, Minnesota says, my wife and I need help with getting our children back. That's great. I can help you. I just need to know what happened. I have no idea what has happened. If you want to call in, my number's open, 626-698-0990. And I gladly help you. Boy, that was quick. Good evening and welcome to my live stream. This is Bob Pace. And how can I help you?
Hi, this is Alice from Connecticut.
Great. Glad to hear from you, Alice from Connecticut.
Awesome. Thank you so much for for doing this.
It's okay. I do this, for already going on the 17th month. I've been doing this since October 23. So I've had some little bit of experience at it.
Thank you. That's amazing. So actually this past Wednesday, my children were just I went to pick up my son from school and I was met with the DCF caseworker and the police, and they were to take my kids away.
Were they at school when they met you?
Yeah.
Did you know about your constitutional rights? Did they have a warrant?
No.
Okay. Your constitutional rights, and this is from talking to attorneys, including my attorney, that you don't have to speak to social workers unless your attorney is present. And you certainly don't have to give up your children unless they have a warrant.
Well, yeah, no, they didn't. They didn't have a warrant. They just had the police there and the caseworker, and just said, "Yeah, we're."
They're intimidated and they're taking advantage of you because you don't know the laws. Your rights are not to speak to social workers without an attorney present, and the same goes with the police. They cannot. You could sit there and say, you're not taking my child, and I'm not talking to you till I get my attorney. You be polite to them and say, I need my attorney present because this is a legal matter and it violates my constitutional rights. And what you do then is you need to find an attorney and talk to them. But that's only with the advice of your attorney. He or she may not say you need to talk to them.
Yeah.
So what did they say when they approached you? Did they say, we're going to take your children, or how'd they start off?
Well, so DCF came into my life, January 17th of this year.
Okay.
Because I confided in a friend of mine about the domestic violence that I was suffering. And, I had been suffering for years. And so...
Was this with your husband, the father of the children?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, it wasn't anything towards the kids or anything. They were just witnesses of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, were they arguments or were there physical domestic violence?
Both.
Okay.
Nothing physical since October of 2022, but but still, it's, so then it was me just confiding in her. I don't know why I shouldn't have, just to keep my family safe. But I mean, you know what? It is what it is. So she was worried about me and my situation. So she called the police, to do a welfare check.
Right.
And so they came out and they spoke with me. And my daughter was home at the time with me because she's 4. And my son who's 6 is in school.
How many children? How many children is this?
2.
2, and is the father the same father for both of them?
Yes.
Now, were you separated at the time they got involved with you, or are you still with them?
No. I separated when they took the children. I decided to leave him and go into seeking shelter.
Right. And what did the shelter people tell you to do?
Nothing really.
Wow. They had no advice about you going to get a restraining order against your husband?
They said I could if I wanted to. I mean,
if you get a restraining order, he's got to leave the house. You have the house and you have the kids.
Well, right now, I can't afford the house, and because I'm not going with the income out, stay-at-home mom, and
well, that's you're a pretty wonderful mom for a stay-home. Now, who owns the house? Do you and your husband do, or is it his only?
It's a rental property.
Oh, it's a rental property, so he has to pay the rent. So if he moves out, he's not going to pay the rent. Well, you can get a court order, a restraining order that he has to pay the rent until you have your court date on your restraining order. But anyway, the damage been done. You probably surrendered the kids that day at school, right?
I didn't feel as if I had a choice. And the even worse part is that I had met with the caseworker. And when she first came to my house, my kid's father was home at the time. He was sleeping on the couch, and I declined and told her, I'm not speaking to you. You need to leave. And so she did. But then she followed up with me going to the kid's school the next morning to meet with me, and then met with me one time after that just to sign paperwork. And okay, fine. So I signed releases and stuff, for the kids' information, and she said she was going to look into support, to try to help me and support my situation and look into shelter and services and that kind of stuff. So and then she still wasn't going to bring Dad into the mix because I told her it's going to be an issue, and I don't want to threaten my safety or my children. And she's like, oh, okay, fine. And she met with her supervisor, and then she said she was going to get back to me. It's going to meet. Okay, so then we set up and it was probably a week had passed, and then she said, "Oh, when can we set up for a meeting?" And I said, and so we set up that date. Well, the weekend before that date, there was an argument between me and the kid's father, and by an argument, that means that he was upset about a few things that was going on, that was just completely silly, and my son wiping his butt, and just a phone charger and things like that, because that's just the kind of person he is.
Okay.
And so,
all right.
I recorded this conversation as I had been doing for some time, to protect myself against him. Should he try to take me to court or anything like that, because he's tried to in the past. And so I sent it to the caseworker saying, this is what's going on. And so she reviews it, gives it to her supervisor, and then calls me. Doesn't preface anything, doesn't offer any kind of support or anything, doesn't give me any kind of option, doesn't say anything. That's just like what you you sent me of a recording, was really concerning. Like you tell me more about that. What's going on. I was like, okay, and I told her, and she's like, okay, and hangs up the phone basically.
Well, what was the charges that were placed against you?
I failed to protect my children.
So you're charged with neglect. You're charged with neglect because you failed to protect your children. And how were your children not protected? Was your husband abusing them, or how was it being not protected?
Because they were watching their mother being berated and verbally and emotionally.
Okay, so they had to witness the argument and the stress on the children. We should never argue in front of our children. So I see what they're coming at. But what was he charged with?
I don't know. But
so you guys aren't talking. You guys aren't talking.
No, not right now. No.
Is this going to be a custody battle? Do you think he's going to want the children or what?
Well, DCF has the children right now, and they're not giving them up. So,
well, they're not, because let me tell you something, and a lot of people may or may not know it, and my listeners are listening right now, that the CPS, the Child Protection System, makes money. Now I'm talking about the bad ones. There are rogue CPS, Child Protection Systems out there, and they want nothing more than milk the money out. They make trillions of dollars a year on taking money from the federal government. The money goes from the federal government to the state. It's requested in large amounts. It's not being transparent. It's not being accountable. It goes from the state to the counties, and the counties just call the state, get a number, and get the money. And you're talking like in the neighborhood of $20,000 per child per month that they get from the state. And they use that money to give out bonuses and incentives. And the social workers are corrupt. The whole thing is very corrupt. And so you probably got a really bad case of a rogue CPS, a failed CPS system. So they're going to let you argue with your husband. They hope that you do. And have you guys, have they had your safety plan meeting where they talk about where the child could stay? Have they had that with you?
No.
So they don't want you to give a list of relatives that your children could stay at.
Well, they asked me, do you have any friends or family that they could stay with in the state of Connecticut? And I was like, no, I don't.
Well, okay, stop right there. They're going to tell you it has to be in the state, but that's not true. They have to spend more money, and they would hate to do that because they lose their profit. But you can assist them. If you have a grandparent, a sister, a brother, aunt, or uncle, or a brother or whatever that lives in a nearby state or clear across state, they have to transport the child through what's called the Interstate Compaction for Placement of Children, ICPC. This Interstate Compaction for Placement of Children costs money. It's a federal entity, but it's the safe transport of children from one state to another state. So that's not true. That's not true. And you could have suggested they could stay with your mom. But anyway, now are they in foster care? Have you allowed them to be put in foster care?
Yeah, they're in a core foster home.
Okay, now are you in a group foster care home, or is it a shelter, or is it a single family home, or a family home, or what?
No, I haven't entered the shelter system yet.
Oh, it is a shelter. Okay, now do you have visitations with your children?
Not as of yet.
And when were they taken from you?
This past Wednesday.
They should have a time for you to talk to your children on the phone or see them at the shelter. They should make arrangements. Yeah. You can assist that. That's your legal rights.
Oh, I have tried.
Well, I know that.
I've tried.
Now, what was the reason why they not let you see your children?
Oh, they didn't give me one. They didn't reply to my call. They haven't provided me with anything.
And I guess you don't have a real attorney. I guess have you asked for a court-appointed attorney?
Not yet. They just told me of like the court date that's coming up next week.
That is dangerous. They're going to.
I went to the first meeting.
Yeah.
On Friday, and they didn't tell me anything about the meeting. They're saying, "Oh, we're just going to have a meeting, and we're just going to go over, some things."
It's called a safety plan meeting that to go over your list of family members that the children can stay at. There's a set procedure.
This was the what's it called, the considered removal.
Yeah,
that's what it was. And they said, "Here, sign this, or we can't talk."
Yeah, you got to be careful signing something, because if you sign something, you're legally bound by that, and you have to read the document. That's why you need to have an attorney. Now, you don't have any source to hire an attorney, right?
No.
That is tough, because can you imagine doing open heart surgery yourself, cutting open your chest and try to work on your heart? That's how dangerous that CPS is. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
Because they're very corrupt, and they will lie. They're not transparent, and they'll make your life miserable.
I can see that already. They've already been lied, like lying to me. I've already seen there's so many inconsistencies, and I've tried to point them out at this, considered removal meeting that I didn't know was a considered removal meeting until I got there, and then I read this, and then they start asking me questions, which I answer, but then they tell me that oh well, I can see that you suffered a lot of trauma, and your mental health is suffering, and because we can't release the children to you because you don't have a stable home environment for them right now, and you need to have all these evaluations done, and we already filed for temporary custody, and it was approved by the judge, and
yeah. There's another person in the room that I have not forgotten, Alice. There's a Kendrick, and Kendrick has said they have a public defender, but the public defender doesn't talk to them. They're from St. Paul, Minnesota, and you're from Donbury, Connecticut. But Kendrick, if you're still there, you need to get a real attorney. And that also applies to you, Alice, that without a real attorney, you're going to end up at the mercy of the court. They're going to sit there. They know that they know that your husband is the one with the money. You're a stay-at-home mom, and you should not be at a disadvantage of that. But you need an attorney to fight for you. I don't know how important it is. Because you're like Alice in Wonderland. You fell in this rabbit hole, met the Cheshire Cat, and going from room to room, going nowhere. CPS is evil. They're really, really, really bad. They're not there to help you.
Yeah. So what was the name of the actor saying about transferring the children to a different thing? Because my mom lives in Pennsylvania.
That's not far from Connecticut.
It's not. And she has and she lives with my oldest son, who's 21.
Okay.
And so she and the caseworker called her on Wednesday, and then she was at work at the time. They didn't get in touch with her. They didn't call her back or anything like that. There was no. Well, she lives in Pennsylvania. It has to be in the state. And then, so she was allowed to join in on this meeting on Friday, but that was the first time that and she had offered that, and so it's just yeah. What was that? Did you call it the interstate something?
Okay, yeah, I need to write this down. It's called the ICPC. It stands for the Interstate Compact of Placing Children. It's a federal government agency that provides the safe transportation of a child from one state to another state. They'll check out your mom and do a background check on her and then before your two children are placed with your mom. That is your goal right now, because you've already got a crooked agency. And you need to ask that. And you need to have your children, because this next hearing is going to be whether or not they'll do a case plan or terminate your parental rights, your TPR. And you got to be careful because this can happen fast. This can happen fast. And with your husband being the way he is, it's going to make your life miserable. It's going to make your life miserable. Who's living in the house right now if you're in the shelter?
He is, I guess.
Okay, so he lives in the house all by himself, and you're living in a shelter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You can also look for legal aid to help you. Also, did you know by calling in on my phone number that you're going to be able to talk to my attorney, Vincent Davis, for 15 minutes for free? He's one of the top attorneys for fighting, CPS. The kind of attorney you want to write this down. You want a juvenile law, a family law, a dependency law attorney who can fight CPS. They have to have that background. And you want somebody that's been around for a while, somebody that can give you some references of who has hired them and what kind of attorney they are. So when you talk and shop around, you can find them. But it's very important that you look at the right kind of attorney. It's juvenile law, family law, dependency law. That's the kind of attorney you want. And you want somebody that has fought CPS and gotten children back.
Yeah, I've seen like the videos about like Vincent Davis before.
Good.
To watch it if they can.
I'm glad you are.
There's an attorney on YouTube that's in Connecticut that works with DCS.
Well, you don't want somebody that works with DCS. You want somebody that fights DCS.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's a private practice.
Right. You want somebody that is a fighter. And an easy way to do it is that I have my rule number 4, which is how to use the internet to Google things. It's very important that you paraphrase your questions right. You start off with the city, and like Donbury is a small city. So what's the next biggest city to that city in Connecticut?
Probably Hartford.
Okay, so you put Donbury, Hartford, Connecticut. Then you put the letters CPS, and everything's going to pop up. Then after the letters CPS, you put down a juvenile law, a family law, a dependency attorney, and you'll see some names pop up in your area. You need to call those people up, and right now, Kendrick is asking the same question. He needs to get an attorney. So Kendrick, if you hear me talking to Alice, you write this down. And then you ask, when you talk to the attorney, your first question is, are you a licensed legal professional attorney in the area of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law, and have fought CPS and got the children back? If the answer is yes, you go one more question to them and say, after the case is closed, have you ever filed a civil lawsuit against CPS and won money back from them? If the answer is yes, you got yourself a fighter. Most attorneys will not sue CPS because it's really hard. So that's why you gotta separate the you gotta get the cream of the crop. Right now you have Vincent Davis. By you talking on the show, and you can do the same thing, Kendrick. You can talk on the show. You're able to talk to Mr. Davis if you want. Do you want that, Alice? It's free. Yeah, it's free. What you'll need to do is that the number you called in, you call me. That number here. In a second, I just had something come up there. You text, not call me. You text me at 626-698-0990. And you text me your full name, your phone number, and your email. Those 3 things I need from you. And then I will contact my show producer, Grace, and she will set up a meeting for you and Mr. Davis to meet for 15 minutes. All you have to do is make a list of questions. I know this is going to be a lot of work for you to do this weekend, but I'm trying to save you, get you prepared for your court date coming up. And you can talk to him in that 15 minutes. You can ask him how much his retainer fee is, and if he'd fight your case. You can do that. But you want to talk to two other attorneys and see your chemistry. It's so important that they have those answers to those two questions, yes, and that you have good chemistry and you check out their references, because you don't want to waste money on bad attorneys. And you want to try not to use the court-appointed attorneys, because when you have a court-appointed attorney, you can no longer talk in court. You have to talk through your attorney. And if you have the court-appointed attorney, he's not going to fight for your case. He'll lose your case. He works for CPS. And what you need to do is you need to have your husband provide you income so you can live on. That is wrong what he's doing. If he has a job, both of you need to go to separation. If you guys are separated, you have to go to separation court. So I'm telling you that you have a really bad case there, because you don't have income, and it's wrong for you to be in a shelter without income. Also, you need to push for your ICPC, the Interstate Compacted for Placement of Children. You need to have them stay with your mom. You have a very good right there because they have relatives. Their older brother lives there. So your two kids will know your older brother. There'd be less stress. So if the three of them can live with your mom until you get this matter straight out. But you're going to have to get, if you don't want to work it out with your husband, you need to go for divorce. I'm sorry. You need to go for divorce.
Oh, we were never married, so that's easy.
Oh, well, that's really easy. But he can't get off because he still has to pay responsibility for the children. Now, I don't know if he can give you any stipulation, but you know, this is tough. This is a tough one.
Yeah. What was that phone number that you had said?
Oh, the text me is the same number you call me, 626-698-0990.
Okay.
But I am trying to help you. I'm also trying to help out Kendrick from St. Louis, Minnesota. He needs to get an attorney too. I don't know all the details about their charge. We also have Felicia, who goes by Cruel, and she's on there. Hello, Felicia, and welcome to the podcast. I have Alice from Donberry, Connecticut, talking about her case. She is separated from her boyfriend, and the boyfriend lives in the apartment. She had to go to a shelter, and her kids, because she didn't know how to deal with CPS, are now in CPS's hand, probably put in a foster care. And I hate to say it, they're probably being abused. I don't want to think that, but they probably are. I have an update from Felicia saying, update on my appellate case. The judge affirmed the decision. I've now gotten to give another go. Great job. Great job. She now has got another go there. And hi, Deidre Payne. Welcome. Deidre Payne is checking in and showing support. Thank you, Deidre Payne. I forgot where you're from, Deidre Payne. Felicia is from Ventura, California. I have many, many people. We have on the phone Alice, who has a very difficult case. She has two children that are in CPS's hands. They refuse to really talk to her or let her mom take the kids through an ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Placing Children. you're going to, I mean, if you guys had domestic violence, I would think filing a restraining order against your boyfriend would really help you with your case. It really will help you with your case. Because that way you're showing CPS that you're seriously trying to protect your children. And doing a restraining order does that. A restraining order does that. And you don't have to be married to do a restraining order against somebody. You give the full name of the gentleman and the address, and you say you want to file a restraining order, and you make a list of what he's done. There'll be a court date in criminal court about it. You have to prove your case. You have to prove your case. Meanwhile, you got to fight to take care of your children. That you want to be also talking to your children and visit with your children while they're in CPS's hands.
Yeah. Pretty much been radio silence and just kind of like,
yeah,
we're taking your kids in.
Yeah, well, that court date is going to be really seriously. If you take a court-appointed attorney, I don't know if that court-appointed attorney will work for you. Most of them are filled up with other cases. They have 30 more clients. They don't have time. They're not practicing in juvenile law, family law, or dependency law. They're criminal attorneys, and they work for the CPS. CPS pays them. CPS also controls the kangaroo court. You're going to find the court really bad, and the judge may be bad. I don't know. I don't know who the judge is for your case. But, if you have a computer, you really want to research the internet. Do that rule number 4. Remember the city, the state, the letter CPS. Then ask all your questions about CPS. You need to study on it. CPS is your enemy. You need to know about your enemy and how to fight your enemy. There's so many brilliant things in there of how to fight your case. You can learn about what this court date's all about and be prepared for it and what CPS has to do. There should be a game plan of reunification between you and your children. Now, your husband will have to go through domestic program, and so will you. That is a year-long program. And if you've had any domestic violence, both of you will have to take that course, that program. And it's not a pleasant thing, but your case is going to go for about a year, and it depends on how bad your children. Now, will your children take any sides, or do they support you or the father? What's their feeling on the matter?
But pretty much, I don't know, because they're 4 and 6, and like they said, like this, that they're fine. I mean, the caseworker interviewed them in school. They didn't, and then tells me about it at this controlled removal hearing that they say, oh well, Tyler was interviewed in school, and he said that he's like, he's not scared, he's fine, And I said, but like that seems kind of odd because it sounds like he was coached, and like, no. I mean, I asked him, if he was scared of his father, and he's like, well, I don't like it when Daddy's angry, and so that was it. But like, it's like, but that was all. Like, it's just like, and so now, like, I didn't know that they're trying to use that against me, But me like the idiot that I am, I'm like cooperating, And I'm just telling them, like, basically all like everything that they want to know. I should have recorded the meeting, but I forgot.
Well, the bad thing is I did the same thing you did. I made the most terrible mistake by telling them and talk my mouth off. You don't want to say a word to CPS because they'll use it against you. All they want is the money, and the more they have mucky muck, the longer the case will be, the more money they're going to make. The children are quite young, and 2 children, that's $40,000 a month that they're getting for those 2 children. Are these special need children?
No.
Okay, because they get more money for special needs. Do you know if the fathers visited them?
No, I haven't. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
But you say like my constitutional rights were completely trampled upon, when they just showed up at school and just said, hey, we're taking your kid.
Yeah, you definitely didn't know your constitutional rights, your civil rights there. I didn't either. I let them into my house. I did all the wrong things you do. And so that is sad. That is sad.
That's like, it's like, well, we don't need a warrant, we're just taking them.
No, they need a warrant. They can't. You can say no. The police, by the way, cannot charge you with a crime unless it's something that is criminal in nature. What you deal with is CPS, neglect and abuse, is not a crime with the police. The police are intimidators. They're just doing that just to do that.
Oh yeah. So, is there anything else that that you could possibly share with me and try to help them?
Oh yeah, I want you to call me all the time and see if I can help you with your case, because I have a lot of ideas. But one of the first things you're going to need to do is I'm hoping you can talk to Vincent Davis and he can help you because he's the real deal. He's the attorney. He's licensed and he knows how to fight CPS and get the children back. Listen to all his videos. Listen to my videos, my live streams. I have over 900 recorded on here, and they talk about all my 5 rules. You have to start documenting everything. You need to make yourself a notebook, and one of the most important things you can start is called a time log incident, a timeline of all the incidents that happen. You want to take 3 lines. Your first line, you put the date, the time, the phone number, and the location, and who was involved in the call. The second line is a summary of what the incident was about. And then the third line is about the outcome. And you skip a couple lines. You do that for every incident, whether it's with the police, the social workers, the school, whatever it is. You have to record everything because it's going to be used for you to present your case. It's so important. You need to take pictures and record them. Never meet with them at their office, and never meet them with your home. You need to meet at a neutral place like Starbucks or McDonald's. And so I'm trying to prepare you, and you need to insist that you're entitled to visitation with your children. They can set up a time, and you're supposed to see your children several times a week. You need to keep bonded to your children. If they don't see your parents, they get bad deals. The parents are bad. And if they're arguing, they may say mommy and daddy's bad. And the CPS workers will alienate your children. They're really that bad. They will tell bad things about the parents. They're not going to tell mommy and daddy want to fix up their domestic violence, or they want to get help, or they want to get you guys back. They are corrupt. And I'm sorry to be able to tell you that, but they're really bad, Alice. They really are bad.
Yeah. So timeline log incidents, and we need to record.
Yeah, you can record. I mean, it's a public place like McDonald's or Starbucks. That's public.
So what do I need to write down in this timeline incident log?
Well, okay. For instance, your first talk with the police or the social workers or both of them, you can say with your timeline, you start off with the date that happened and the time if you have it. And if it was in person, you say in person, and you say the following people were there: 3 social workers, 2 policemen. And then your summary is that they came and told me that I'm being charged with neglect and they're taking my children. Then you can put down the outcome when it's done. You can say the children are now in foster care. I'm seeking to have them transported to my family members, your mom, and you're trying to use the ICPC. So anyway, you do that every day. You have an incident with either the police, the CPS, the child protection system, or maybe it's the school or maybe it's the doctors, or where it is. You just got to keep track of everything. It's suddenly going to be pages and pages long, but in 6 months' time, you can go back and look at it. You won't remember everything. And that was a mistake that I made. You need subject dividers in your notebook and put the subject dividers that separate one document from the others. Every parent class, every program you take, you need to put the completion certificates in there. You need to take any drug tests that you're required. Have they challenged you that you're strung out on drugs yet? Do they have that with you?
No, not yet, but I'm sure
Okay,
there's like
they're going to try to do that. They're also going to try to make you mentally unfit. They're going to say you're crazy. They're not clinical psychiatrists. They're going to make you take their tests and see their doctors. You don't want to see their doctors. You don't want to see them. You need to have your attorney give you the advice. And if I was the attorney there, I would tell you, you have to follow what the attorney says. Do not let them tell you you're mentally deranged or anything like that. Don't talk to them. Easy way to say it is that unless I'm my attorney present, I can't talk to you. I will get my attorney. So right now, you just called in. You got a chance to talk to Mr. Davis, and he could be your attorney. I'm not, saying that for sure.
Yeah. I understand. Okay. So, great.
Now,
well, I do appreciate all your help.
Well, it doesn't end there. I mean, I got right now. We still got about. Let me see. What time is it? Okay, it's 8:00. So that means my podcast is over. So I got to end my podcast. But that doesn't mean you can't call me back tomorrow morning. I'm on at 8:00 Western time tomorrow morning. And then again tomorrow night, I'll be on at 5:00 p.m. So I'm on at 8 a.m. On the West Coast of California, and again on at 5 p.m. So think about what I said. Text me the information about your name, your full name, your phone number, and your email, and then I will get you set up to talk to Mr. Davis. But you're going to have to spend all your time right now after you hang up to research the internet. And you want to have your city, state, and the letters CPS, and then type in all your questions. You want to find out what are the steps and what kind of CPS system. We want to look at all the bad reports and stuff there. You want to get a hold of your mom and make sure that that is considered. So you got a lot of homework to do, okay, Alice?
Yeah.
And whatever you do, don't give up. I know you feel discouraged. You're alone. Do you have a family member that can support you or help you?
I have like this, a friend here, and
try to get into support groups. Yeah, you need to be supported there because it's hard. This is a traumatic experience that has happened to you. But I want to thank you, Alice, for taking the time to talk to me. I look forward to continue to talk to you. I want to say hello to Chew Baby. Chew Baby is from Richmond, Virginia. Thank you, and I'm just ready to close my podcast. And Dietrich Pay, thank you for showing up tonight. And yeah, Deidre, thank you there for your advice. Also, if you're asked to do any classes such as parenting or domestic violence, make sure you're expressed to the judge what you have learned from these classes and learned very important. Thank you for saying that. Hello, Rachel. I'm sorry I missed your comments here, and I will talk to you again tomorrow at 8:00. Deidre, thank you. Rachel, thank you. I want to thank Felicia from Ventura, California, Kendrick from Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Alice from Donbury, Connecticut, and Margaret King from St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you all. Keep fighting. Do not give up. There's a way. Listen to all my live streams. You'll hear about my 5 rules. Listen to all Vincent Davis's live streams. He has a lot of live streams. He will help you very, very much so. So tomorrow I'll be on at 8 o'clock, and that's Saturday. And tomorrow night I'll be on at 7 p.m. Then on Sunday I'm on at 8, and again on at 5 p.m. Also, Mr. Davis will be on at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. He has a live stream with questions and answers, so you can hear from him. So God bless you all, and thank you all for listening, and keep fighting for your kids. This is Bob Pace signing